Good morning, good afternoon, or in case you're listening to this later in the day, good evening. My name's Terry. I'm talking to you live from Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining another episode of Tuesdays with Terry. Hopefully we're giving you some good tips here. Hopefully we're getting your time, your attention. Thank you for being part of this. Do me a favor and share this with a friend or family member if you have somebody you want to get some good, pure, positive, good thinking in, helping them with their self-empowerment, helping them with their leadership style or with their business. Man, I'd love you to share it. And we're on Spotify, Apple. You can go to TuesdaysWithTerry.com. Man, come on. Let's get this going, man. Tell a friend. Use your telephone and tell a friend. How about that? Any case, I wanted to talk with you today a little bit about some of us are struggling, I say myself, because I'm part of this right now. And so I'm always looking for new ways, new ideas to really generate more business. And what I mean by that, when I say generate more business, last week I was talking about the funnel and about generating more sales through the funnel. But I'm always looking for how do I get my top line revenue higher? How do I generate more transactions, more sales? And how do I do that? And so today I want to talk with you about maybe 6 ways to improve. You can do right now, things you can do like immediately. It's not 3 months in the future. It's not 10 weeks down the road, 12 weeks down the road. These are things that right now you could sit down at a table with a couple of your sales teams, your salespeople, and you can go, man, could we do this? Can we do this? And increase your sales immediately, meaning today, tomorrow, within the next 72 hours. So I just want to give you a couple of stats. 87% of most salespeople miss their quota. 70% of employees are disengaged, not engaged. They are disengaged, meaning they're coming, collecting a paycheck, but they're not really engaged in what's really going on. They're probably not as effective or efficient in the use of their time. 48% of salespeople never follow up, ever, never follow up. I mean, not even one time. They just, they're there. 80% of studio managers in my business anyway, they don't find time to do the training. 80%, can you imagine that? As much as we talk about training, they end up going, well, that guy figured it out, or I told them once. They don't continue to role play and practice every single day. When you think about professional sports team, when you think about collegiate sports teams, those guys are practicing in, even on the off days of the game days, they're in practice. And so I would tell you is if you have 80% like I do, people not training, you got a problem. You got an accountability problem there. So yes, I do. And so I ask you, what about you? Do you have a game plan even? Because we found out 64% of salespeople, managers don't even have a game plan wrapped around the month. So that being said, what I want to do is give you 6 pointers that you can use right now to try to increase your sales. Number 1 is you've got to figure out and create a hot list. A hot list is the top 10 or 20 people, 10 or 20 leads, appointments, web leads, event leads, anybody that you've come in contact with, people that you go, man, these are the hottest people. They may have been in, they may have talked with you, they may have set an appointment, but they didn't show. They may have come in and seen you, but they didn't sign, they didn't make a transaction. Can you take the last 30 or 60 days and narrow that down to 10 or 20 people that are in fact the hottest, that you could reach out to them today saying simply, hey, John, I was going through our records and I saw you had an interest. And man, I was just wanting to follow up with you and see where we were at with whatever your product or service is. Part of creating a hot list is asking yourself and your salespeople to take a look at the people that they associate with. And we all have probably 200 plus contacts in our phones. We all are on Facebook. We're all on Instagram. We all have friends and that we associate with, but I don't know how many friends you have on Facebook. I've got a ton of folks on there, but could I go through that list and come up with 10 or 20 people that I think might have an interest in trying out my product or service? And so a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, I don't have anybody to call. I don't have anybody to reach out to. Yes, you do. You're just not thinking right. So number 1 way to generate sales right now is get a hot list. Come up with 10, 20 people. Number 2, you've got to go back to past customers. In my business, it's former members, people who have been a member, but they are no longer a member. We call that a win back. but reach out to 10 or 20 of those people and simply call them and ask them. For us, we say things like, hey, John, we just wanted to give you a courtesy call and find out, how's that workout program going? Are you making progress? And many times they'll say, yes, I joined this gym, or I went over here, I did it. But half of them will come and say, you know what? I never ended up doing it, or I was a member there and I quit. And man, I'm glad you called. I need to really get back into that Orange Theory fitness concept. So I'm just telling you, the number 2 way to generate sales right now is go back and look through your records, whether it's a CRM, whether it's point of sale, whatever you've got, tracking system, but you've got to be able to generate a list of your former members. Number 3, you have to come up with a specific and a systematic way to ask for referrals and to promote referrals. Word of mouth, right, is the number one. It's the heavyweight champion of the world, getting credibility from a friend or family member about your particular business, your service, or your product. It is the number one way that many times people will hear about you. So you've got to figure out a way, a systematic way, and there's a number of ways to do that. There is simply picking up the phone and asking your current members or your current clients for a referral. Many times when you have delivered a good service or you're delivering a good service, you can then ask them to give you a name of a friend, a family member that might be interested, that has similar interest to them. Again, this is a power base, meaning that you have members that are active, or you have clients that are active with your business, but they aren't necessarily your power base. Your power base are the movers and shakers. Your power base are the mavens, the talkers. They're the people that are the networkers around town, around your community, around that can really spread the word for you. And then the way that I ask this, there's a couple ways. One is, if you had a friend or family member that could use my service or my product, do you think that they would take my call? Or would you be so kind as to introduce me? If they came here, would you, and stood in front of me, would you introduce me? Of course you would. Well, maybe you can introduce me another way, and maybe give me their name and contact, or you call them and introduce me through email or introduce me through a text message. But you've got to find a way of systematically asking for referrals at the point of sale, in a promotion, or each month you can come up with, little gimmicks to allow you to ask people or talk about something, or a promotion that allows you to talk to your clients. Number 4 is you've got to ask. And I say, you've heard this before, right? Wayne Gretzky's great quote, you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? So, and this is true for asking for anything, whether it's asking for the sale, whether it's asking for the referral. But 63% of presentations go by where the sales associate never really asked. He made a phenomenal presentation. He had a phenomenal PowerPoint. He had a phenomenal logic about why this was a good business or why this was a good product. But in the end, he never really asked, or doesn't have a way to ask. And so you've got to come up with 10 different ways to ask for the sale. In our business, we say things like, Mrs. Jones, this is a simple process. And in order to start that process, all I need is a copy of your photo ID. That's one way to ask. Another way to ask is, Mrs. Jones, how do you want to take care of this transaction with Visa, MasterCard, or American Express? That's another way to ask. Another way to ask is, in our business, again, I'm using our business, but we have what we call the 3-question close is, are you interested in your health? And they say yes. Are you interested in taking better care of your health? And they say yes. And well, if you're ever going to start to take better care of your health, John, when do you think would be the best time to get started? And they say, well, I think it's right now. And we say, well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness, and shake their hand, and we're off to the paperwork. But you have got to find ways to ask. It needs to be scripted. It needs to be memorized, and everybody on the team needs to know that. And they need to have a toolbox full of ways to ask for the sale. Number 5 is follow-up. I can't tell you how important it is to follow up. I have a number of podcasts that I have done, presentations I've done. Let's call it, when in doubt, FU. Well, the FU stands for follow-up, right? And is your follow-up organized? Do you have an organized way to follow up? In other words, do you know when you're going to follow up, at what specific time, what specific day, and what are you going to say with the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, and the 10th? And the reason I say 10 is because that's what it takes to get the sale. Is it planned? Is it scheduled? Is the follow-up scheduled? Is it creative? You know, are you saying the same damn things over and over and over and over and over and over and over? Or are you getting creative with what you're saying, with a photograph or with a short video or with an article or, you know, or a greeting card or a thank you card or a note in the mail? How are you getting creative? And what is the speed at which you follow up? Remember this, time kills all deals. Meaning that the longer the time goes on, the less and less the person is hot, then they get warm, then they get cold, then they get never. 30, you've heard this on accounts receivable, right? 30, 60, 90, never. Anyway, that's number 5. Number ways to increase your sales. Again, that follow-up. And finally, the last one is you've got to do a better job at list creation. Because so many times people say, I don't have anybody to follow up with. I don't have anybody to call. I don't have any lead. I don't have who. And so what you have to do is you, as the leader, have to be better at list creation for your team. So in just telling them to go, and that's what I just did for you, by the way. I just did list creation. I talked about a hot list. I talked about past customers. I talked about referrals. First 3 things I did was help you with list creation. But what are some other things that we can do for list creation? Certainly, your web leads are list creation. Your inbound phone calls, your telephone inquiries are list creation. Your no-show appointments are a complete list. Your current members or your current clients, you can create a list out of that. Your former clients, I talked about that earlier. Corporate opportunities, are there businesses or corporations that can use your product or your service? Events, creating leads with events, personal production leads, meaning, you know, people that actually go out and try to find the referrals from some of their own personal clients. In case of emergency, who should we contact, John? That's another way to create a list. Going back to old 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days ago logs, or people that have visited, or leads from 120 days, dormant leads, post leads, you know, things that are just a little bit older. Adopting a lead. When a salesperson leaves, can you get an adopt a lead program? Talking about friends and family. I'm just giving you a handful here, but we can go on, but you have got to be better with list creation. And that helpfulness of list creation is a way for you to increase sales right away. So what are those 6 ways? Number 1, get a hot list, 10 to 20 people. Number 2, go back, post customers, talk to them. Number 3 is a better way to do referrals. It's systematic. Number 4 is you've got to get your teams to ask for referrals and ask for sales. Number 5 is better job at follow-up. Is it creative? Is it program? You know, is it planned? And the last one is list creation. You incorporate those 6 things into your daily activities, into your weekly activities. I'm telling you, you're going to increase sales really, really quick. My name's Terry. I'm your friend. Good luck with 6 ways to get sales now.